dark depths, Neo-Stoicism, metaphysics, epistemology, and logic, and beyond the abyss. Metaphysics, the dark cosmos. The metaphysics of dark depth Neo-Stoicism presents the universe as an indifferent entropy engine rather than a rational, providential order. Stars ignite and consume themselves. Galaxies collide and merge in violent silence. Life emerges through blind chemical processes, only to be extinguished by catastrophe or gradual decay, all without purpose, audience, or moral arc. There is no benevolent logos weaving events into a coherent story of justice or growth. Instead, only the blind machinery of cause and effect operates across incomprehensible scales of time and space. Ancient notions of divine providence or cosmic harmony are recognized as comforting human inventions, inherited from earlier cultures, and ultimately discarded when confronted with evidence of indifference. The only genuine order that arises is the fragile, temporary order imposed by individual virtuous will, acting within its narrow sphere of influence. The cosmos reveals itself as vast, cold, and ultimately silent. Planets spin through vacuum, black holes devour light, and entire civilizations may rise and fall without leaving a trace detectable by distant observers. Human consciousness, far from being a divine gift or central feature of reality, appears as a brief, accidental spark, an emergent property of complex biology that flickers for a moment before being reabsorbed into the machinery. This recognition carries no inherent cruelty, but demands unflinching honesty. The universe owes nothing, promises nothing, and notices nothing. In this dark metaphysics, there exists no safety net of cosmic justice, no balancing ledger in an afterlife, and no hidden purpose waiting to be discovered. Suffering, beauty, atrocity, and kindness occur with equal impartiality under the same indifferent laws. Freedom, paradoxically, is born precisely from this stark acknowledgement. Because nothing outside the self will intervene to save, reward, or punish, the entire burden and privilege of meaning falls inward. The practitioner must generate order, value, and direction through the disciplined exercise of virtuous will. Virtue becomes the sole remaining anchor in an entropic sea. The dark cosmos does not depress the spirit once fully accepted. It liberates it from false hopes and childish bargaining. One stops waiting for the universe to align with personal desires, and instead aligns one's character with the reality that exists. This metaphysics strips away illusion, while simultaneously deepening resolve. The practitioner lives not as a favored child of creation, but as a temporary sovereign carving dignity from chaos. In the face of heat-death, moral randomness, and existential solitude, the dark cosmos affirms that the only immortality available is the density of character forged in full awareness of these conditions. The universe remains silent, but the response is a deliberate, unyielding assertion of inner sovereignty. Epistemology and Logic. Epistemology and logic in dark depth Neo-Stoicism treat truth as a scalpel rather than a source of comfort or reassurance. The pursuit of knowledge requires dragging every impression, every inherited belief, and every comforting narrative into the harsh light of ruthless examination. Self-deception stands as the only cardinal sin because it undermines the very foundation of sovereignty by allowing illusion to masquerade as reality. Logic is stripped of its purely abstract character and reforged as a weapon of survival. The practitioner dissects personal motives, emotional reactions, and cognitive habits with the same cold precision that ancient Stoics once applied to the study of physics and cosmology. Cognitive distortions, catastrophizing, wishful thinking, rationalization, or victim narratives are not gently reframed or therapeutically softened. They are exposed, placed on trial, and executed without mercy when found false. Reason in this system does not promise happiness, fulfillment, or emotional equilibrium. It promises only clarity in the perpetual fog of war that is human existence. Every idea, value, or interpretation is subjected to 3 unforgiving test questions. First, is this true even if it destroys me, demanding that truth be valued above psychological survival? Second, does this make me more sovereign or less, measuring whether the belief strengthens or erodes inner command? Third, would I still choose this if no one ever knew? Eliminating performative or socially contingent reasoning. These questions function as a continuous filter, stripping away layers of ego protection and social conditioning. The resulting epistemology is deliberately minimalist and stripped. Fewer illusions remain, but those that survive carry greater weight and reliability. This approach rejects both dogmatic certainty and relativistic nihilism. Truth is approached as an ongoing process of refinement rather than a final destination. The practitioner cultivates a mind that can hold discomfort, ambiguity, and painful self-knowledge without collapse. Logic becomes daily practice. Journaling, meditation, and honest conversation serve as laboratories where impressions are tested and refined. In a world flooded with misinformation, ideological noise, and internal rationalizations, this epistemology equips the individual to navigate chaos with a blade-sharp discernment. It does not seek universal metaphysical truths beyond the observable, but focuses relentlessly on what can be known with sufficient certainty to guide virtuous action. The ultimate goal is not intellectual satisfaction, but operational clarity. A mind that sees the dark cosmos as it is and still chooses to act with integrity inside it. By committing to this rigorous epistemology, the practitioner builds an inner citadel that resists both external deception and internal collapse. Beyond the abyss. Once the core practices of dark depth Neo-Stoicism become marrow-deep, integrated into daily thought, emotion, and action, the philosophy naturally extends beyond personal endurance into the domains of legacy and transmission. The practitioner transitions from solitary forging of character to becoming a lantern carrier in the surrounding dark for others who may be lost or struggling. Mentoring occurs without sugarcoating or false reassurance. Truths are delivered with the same unflinching honesty applied to the self. Art, writing, teaching, or concrete actions are created not for immediate recognition, but with the understanding that they may outlive the creator by decades or centuries. Seeds of virtue are planted deliberately in soil that may never bloom within one's lifetime, knowing that entropy will likely swallow most visible results. Death itself loses its terror and is reframed as the final act of sovereignty. The individual dies exactly as they lived, unbowed, eyes open, character intact, having transformed their brief spark of consciousness into something denser and more enduring than the void that will eventually swallow the body. Beyond the abyss is not a promise of transcendence, mystical enlightenment, or heavenly reward. It is instead a form of abyssal immortality. The quiet knowledge that a fully forged character continues to ripple outward through influence, example, and subtle cultural echoes, even after the name and physical form have vanished. One does not escape the dark by ascending above it. One becomes an intentional part of its architecture. A quiet, defiant structure etched permanently into the indifferent entropy of existence. This extension prevents the philosophy from collapsing into mere self-focused resilience or nihilistic withdrawal. Personal sovereignty gains purpose when it begins to serve as a model or quiet catalyst for others navigating the same indifferent cosmos. The lantern carrier does not offer salvation or easy answers, but demonstrates through lived example that an unbreakable self is possible even inside the abyss. Legacy here is measured not by monuments or fame, but by the density of virtue transmitted. In a universe heading toward heat death, the only meaningful victory is the creation of something that temporarily resists dissolution through the quality of character it embodies and passes on. Thus, the journey through the abyss culminates not in withdrawal, but in measured contribution, planting, mentoring, and embodying defiance, so that others might find the tools to do the same. The final horizon reveals that the darkest depths, once traversed, become the ground from which quiet, enduring light can still be cast.